from time I bang it some. Chill off in your crib and have a thing while it niggas think of some. Girl, you like my product.
What's up, everybody? Ace Enigma here. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I've seen a lot of these videos in my own time, but I've never actually reacted to them, and that will be time slip videos. So for those of you that don't know, time slipping is basically when you're doing something and then suddenly you walk into another room or you walk into a certain thing and everything just suddenly changes and you're back in like the 50s or you're back in like the 18th century and everything is out of place and people would be staring at you, looking at you, because obviously you're in modern day clothing or etc. One story that I saw talked about how this one person walked past an alley and then the whole block turned into like a 50s block and everything around him was completely different, and then he walked into a store that he thought was a bookstore and suddenly everything just changed back. And I believe he said that somebody was with him experienced it at the exact same time as him. So it's not just something that happens to individuals, it sort of happens maybe certain places or certain times. If you believe in parallel universes, there could be different theories about parallel universes entwining as to where maybe why the time space goes on. There's so many different videos about it. I don't want to just keep getting into it, but this is one that I haven't seen yet, and this is a channel that I've been meaning to react to for a while. I honestly just keep forgetting, which is a weird world. If you guys don't know who he is or they are, go ahead and check out the link in the description. Go sub to them because they do a lot of cool stuff like this. And I'm gonna try not to talk over him because his videos are mainly talking. But let's get into it.
Physicists define time as a progression of events from the past to the present into the future. But what if the person were to experience something that challenges their scientific belief and are somehow caught up in unexpected time travel, called a time slip? The horse and cart. The following time slip incident happened in the late 90s in Kings Lynn, Norfolk, UK. Jack Evans was in town with his sister and father, and they were waiting for a train that his sister was due to leave on. They had some time to kill and were standing by a fence next to the railway station. They all had a clear view of a road that leads to a roundabout just ahead. It was about midday, and they just stood around chatting until it was time to walk to the station. All of a sudden they stopped talking, and as they were casually looking down the road, the atmosphere suddenly changed. Everything went quiet. They could no longer hear any traffic noises, and Jack said it felt as if somebody had turned the volume right down. Then the air around them seemed to change, where everything felt quiet and spooky.
That's
As
interesting.
this strange event was unfolding, nobody said a word until the eerie silence was suddenly broken when they heard the sounds of horses' hooves on the road. When out of nowhere, they saw a horse and cart driven by a man whose face appeared to be full of anger. He was dressed in clothing that looked like something out of the 18th century. His whole appearance and demeanour were rough and dirty, and his car looked as if it had seen better days. He proceeded to drive his car around in circles, and at the same time he kept staring around, occasionally looking directly at them. He was a big rough-looking man and continued with this behaviour, continuing to look angry and furious and red in the face, as if he were looking for someone to seriously hurt. They all just stood there fearing the man, as he was certainly someone they did not want to challenge. After this frightening tirade, he then turned the horse and cart around and raced off down the same road that he had come up, and they could hear the sound of the horse's hooves as they disappeared and faded into the distance. The moment they could no longer hear the sounds of the hooves, the atmosphere changed back to normal, where the traffic noises returned and they were returned to the present. Not knowing what had just happened to them, they just stared at each other, totally shaken, at the same time in disbelief at what had just occurred. Finally, one of them spoke. "Did you see that?" And the others could only reply, "Yes, we did. And what the hell was it?" It was an experience Jack would never forget, and figured they'd been caught up in some sort of time slip that terrified all three of them.
Wow.
The native.
Okay, I'll pause real quick. Okay, so that time it was three of them that went into the slip. So I wonder what's the biggest amount of people that have been into a slip at a time like that. Also, I was also remembering about this other story I heard where people saw old lady from what seemed to be from the 18th centuries carrying a vase above her head, I believe. And she looked confused, like she had no idea what was going on. So it happens both ways. It's not just people from our time slipping into the past. It's also the past coming to us. I'm honestly fascinated by time slips, and I have no idea what causes them, because I do believe in them. I know a lot of people are skeptical, but there's one thing I do believe in. I'm not sure if I believe in parallel universes, but I do believe it's possible. Honestly, I believe a lot of things are possible. I don't know how you guys feel about all this, but let's go ahead and get to the next one.
American. The following account does not specify where in America the incident took place, but there is no doubt that the following person experienced something he could not explain. Early one morning in 2007, John Siebel lived with his dog in his front yard and was looking out over his property when he spotted what looked like a Native American Indian male. The young Indian looked to be in his early 20s and was walking along a hillside across his short yard towards a stream, but then suddenly disappeared into thin air. When he first saw the young man, he appeared to be translucent, but at the same time looked very real and alive. He had long brown hair that had been tied back behind his head. He was not wearing a headdress of any kind. He was dressed in a tan-coloured short skirt-looking dress around his waist that came down to his knees. The young man walked past his storage building in front of John and his dog, barely 60 feet from them, and he paid them no attention at all, as if he was ignoring them or could not see them. He appeared to be determined to get somewhere and appeared to be deep in thought. John thought the next time he would be prepared, and the following mornings bought a camera in the hope of capturing an image of the young man, but he never appeared again. John is uncertain whether he was seeing a visual activity, a ghost, or possibly a time slip. What confused John was that the young Native American appeared so real, and yet his dog had no reaction to him. But then he said, "My dog doesn't normally react to strangers anyway," and may have accepted the young Indian as a normal person. Home and Away.
That one sounds like it could be more of a
took
ghost.
place in Australia while a young girl was watching TV. Michelle Egan was 12 years old, watching TV whilst doing her homework. She was watching an Australian soapie called Home and Away, which started at 6 p.m. She was following the story and knew who all the characters were. When the commercials came on, she went into the kitchen and was surprised that her mother had not started cooking, as they always ate at 6 p.m, and asked the mother why dinner wasn't ready, or her mother got irritated. Confused by her mother's response, she went back to watching the TV. When she sat in front of the TV, she found that The Cosby Show was now playing and was at least halfway through the episode. Well, The Cosby Show started at 5 p.m. Still not fully aware of what was happening, she looked across at her sister and said she's just been watching a new episode of Home and Away. Her sister didn't believe her because it hadn't started yet, as it was not 6 p.m.
Well,
Michelle said that she not only watched it, but could tell her what had happened in the episode. When Home and Away did come on, it was exactly as she had remembered, about 45 minutes previously. Michelle and her sister figured the mistake was made by the TV station and they had inadvertently aired the show early. However, when she arrived at school the following day, she mentioned what had happened to her friends, who had all been watching the show that evening, and all said that there'd be no error and the Cosby Show had come on at the normal time and Home and Away had started at the normal time of 6 p.m. Somehow, Michelle had been brought forward in time by 45 minutes, and that is also why her mother had not prepared dinner.
Wow, I've never heard of a time slip like that before, where it happens that soon. That's crazy. I don't even know what to think. That's weird. That is insane. Time slips just blow my fucking mind, man. Like I'm gonna react. To be honest, I'm gonna react to more time slip videos because I love stuff like this. This interests me so much. But if you guys are interested, let me know and give me more suggestions for different stuff. I've been wanting to look more into UFOs because I'm big into UFOs also. And obviously I want to catch up with some more Nuke videos. I haven't done any of his videos in a bit. But time slips, man, they're so wild. There's so many theories of what they could possibly be, and yet nobody knows the slightest clue of what they could actually be. And that fascinates me so much. Like, the unknown is so intriguing but so terrifying at the same time. And literally anything could be real. Like, we don't really know what's real. What if we're not real? So anyways, that's all for today, guys. Don't forget to leave likes, subscribe, share if you want, tell your friends, tell your mama, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.